Hello everyone, and welcome to our Talk and Play podcast, where we discuss serious and funny topics while playing video games.
Yes, and today we'll be talking about innovation, and why we need people making these innovations so that we can advance society to better everybody, and help us all.
So without further ado, let's blow this knowledge load. If you're new to this channel, I suck at video games. But that's not the point of these, I guess. So anyways, we've been having a lot of discussions lately about the different types of energy and whatnot. It kind of got us thinking about... What's wrong?
Nothing. Keep going.
Oh, it kind of got us talking about innovations in technology and in a lot of different areas. And then one of the things that Josh had found was Elon Musk, who everyone knows, and he is kind of at the forefront of a lot of these different innovations in the world, right? And there was this one video with him doing, was it a podcast?
Yeah, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, nope, I'm totally lying. It was actually a 60 minutes special.
Right.
And it was him talking about the energy crisis in Australia, which, to be honest, I actually didn't even know was a thing.
More than ever, Australians are struggling to pay for their power. A record number of families are on hardship plans or deferred payments, and the rate of disconnections in most states has risen sharply. For Elon Musk, learning of this growing power poverty is overwhelming.
They're rolling outages, their bills are ridiculous, monthly electric bills, outrageous. So Elon Musk kind of made, I don't want to say a challenge per se, but he said, I'll help, I'll build battery, and in 100 days, I think he said, he will have this huge battery bank built that will help them store all this energy so that they don't have all these rolling outages, and to hopefully help bring down the cost as well.
Elon Musk tweeted headfirst into a national political brawl when fellow billionaire Australian IT whiz Mike Cannon-Brookes questioned Tesla's boast that it could help solve South Australia's energy problems by building the world's biggest battery.
And so he got to work on that, and they did an interview with him through the 60 minute special. Oh shit, I'm still going.
Oh no!
Fuck! And through this special, they were talking about him, and it seems like he honestly didn't even know that was an issue. In Australia, how people just didn't have any power. What are you doing out there? Don't use that.
Yeah, I keep trying to use that.
Where people just don't have power. And so for however many days a month, they could potentially be without power. And he didn't realize that. And so when they were interviewing on him, he actually seemed generally concerned and actually kind of hurt by the fact that these people are living without, at this point, essentially basic human needs. Because I would be hard-pressed to find anybody who wouldn't agree that electricity and power isn't kind of a basic human need, even though there are still lots of people who don't have that. But yeah, he just seemed very genuinely concerned for these people and saddened that they don't have these basic human needs, and that he has the power to do something about it, and that they haven't done anything about it, and he just seemed very sad and remorseful about it.
There are Australians today wondering if they can even turn on their lights. There are Australians today wondering, should we go without some food?
Sure.
That's just not something you would ever expect.
I did not expect that. We work harder.
For Musk, it's frustrating because for him, the solution is so simple.
It kind of hit me as this guy is what an amazing person who he's actually sad that he hasn't done something about this and that he didn't know that this was an issue. I don't know, it just kind of gave me more respect for the guy. Just because I didn't to care that much about a problem that I guess doesn't directly affect you, but as another human being, kind of does affect you.
And that, something that you said there, where he was very confused, or I guess we kind of all are, of they have the power to do these things, and the government could have done these things on their own. Like when he says, "I can get this done in 100 days." Like, if you have such a crisis, why is that being ignored, and why haven't they innovated that on their own? Like, and that's what we were talking about off camera as well, is that usually you have an individual that comes in to solve these issues for a country or a group of people, or, you know, whatever it's going to be. And I find it crazy because Australia probably has one of the biggest opportunities outside of like Britain and whatnot for tide power, for solar power, for all this different stuff to kind of solve that issue. And yeah, the startup costs might not be the cheapest thing in the world, but when you've got, you know, like you said, basic human rights and people aren't getting that, you would think there would have been more of a push.
Yeah, and I'd actually just like to show it right here, kind of what we were talking about, the interview with Elon Musk. And then later on, they were also talking with one of the governors or one of the PMs, something like that, about like why isn't the government doing anything, and you know, why do we still have these issues when we know that they can be solved? Like, why does it seem like nobody wants to do anything about it? So we'll roll that right here.
But there's one man who can't understand why.
Australia is really perfect for solar power because it's not too far north or too far south. You could have the entire country be solar powered, or some combination of wind, solar, geothermal, hydro.
Okay, so I don't know. It just kind of hits. It kind of hits you when, you know, somebody that has the ability to do something cares that much, and you know, like everybody knows Elon Musk because, you know, he builds the Tesla cars, right? He does the electric cars. He's got his own space program. Just like all these things that he's trying to do, he's trying to create all this innovation to better society. And I just think that's a really cool thing to do as a person who has the ability to do it and actually puts his effort towards doing it, instead of just being like, I just want to make money. You know, I've got this big company, I'm just here to make money. No, I'm actually going to try and advance society. I think that we need more people like that. More people that have the resources and also the willingness to help out everybody, regardless of, you know, if they're going to make billions of dollars off whatever.
And going back to your point about the electric cars and whatnot, and talking about the automotive industry, like, yeah, he's trying to push forward electric cars, and he's not the only one. Tesla is obviously the most famous,
yeah,
but there is other companies that are making them and trying to push them. But at the same time, like when you're talking about economy and it's not even economy, like personal preferences, like a lot of people say that they don't want to have an electric car or electric truck because they like the diesel powered or gas powered, like Hemi truck and whatnot.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like even I would be a little hesitant because you jerk, because then you have to start worrying about stuff like, oh, I gotta find a charging station to charge up my car when the car's battery's dead or whatever. Yeah. Like if you're on a road trip, you know, you may not know where these things are. So I don't know. It would kind of be worried. I would be worried.
But you have to also look at the economic portion of it. Like realistically, we could roll out electric cars in like a 10-year span, and just kind of make it almost mandatory that in 10 years you can drive your gas-powered vehicles for now, but in 10 years, this is the plan to go completely electric with the automotive stuff.
You gotta roll through them.
You gotta roll! But yeah, so you could do it in 10 years, but the problem is, like, these oil industries make so much money, and they do pump so much money into the economy, and it's one of those things that's so threaded and ingrained into politics, corporations, even personal jobs.
As long as there's money invested in something, I feel like innovation and advancement is going to be a lot more difficult to do if there is money to be made. It's so difficult because, how many of these companies are going to be willing to hurt their bottom line to advance society, to better it? We want to get cleaner, more fuel efficient cars. We want to do whatever. Well, there's people, there's people making lots of money on this. Oh no. There's people making lots of money on this, so why would they change? Because now they got to refine their processes. They got to change the way, in the terms of vehicles, they got to change the way that they make these vehicles, and that's going to cost them money.
And then you've got the little guy, and I don't think people fully understand how much these politics and these politics absolutely just being towards the generation of money are actually affecting you. Let's put it this way: let's go back to Australia. It's a smallish country with a decent sized population, with a lot of improvement opportunities. And when if you start generating your electricity based on tide or whatever have you, and then you bring in electric cars, your cost for keeping your car going on clean energy electricity, you're going to notice a difference, because it's not going to be nearly as much as it's going to be for putting gas in your car every week, for the maintenance that you need to do on a gas powered car. And I think that's what a lot of people don't know as well, is that the maintenance cost for a gas powered car is a lot more than it is for a electric car, because when you have combustions going through your vehicle, obviously it's going to cause a lot more issues than just a simple engine that's run on a clean power. So yeah, there's a lot of things behind it, a lot of opportunity, but it is held back a lot by lobbying people who have the interests of their company and just making money in mind. So.
Yeah, and on that note as well, we were also watching a video. It was this one was on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Right.
A guy by the name of Howard Bloom, who is I believe he's an author. So he talks with a lot of people. He does a lot of research into these kinds of things, because he writes a lot of books on them. He was writing, on the Joe Rogan podcast, he was talking with Joe Rogan about NASA and kind of like space flight and just general doing things in space. Well, we know that Elon Musk has his own space program. I think it's called SpaceX.
Yeah.
And also Jeff Bezos, who's the founder of Amazon, another billionaire. He's also wanting to do his own space program. He's wanting to build his own rockets and go into outer space. But Howard Bloom was talking about how NASA's kind of in a bad spot right now, where they're not going to be the ones who further advance anything we're doing in space, because they're at a point where a lot of their money is coming from these politicians who aren't exactly on the up and up. They have their interests in mind, and this isn't one of the shooty guys. Wait.
Well, while Josh is figuring this out, let's cut to that video so that you guys know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. So it'll kind of explain what I was just talking about, and he also has an interesting point about these governors and how they're the ones who are dictating what NASA's doing, rather than NASA doing things to, kind of further advance as humans, as humanity, our reach into outer space. So we'll play it right now.
So the goal here is, up until now, NASA, which has been dumbed down so much it's ridiculous by Congress and the Senate, because Congress and the Senate insist on designing their own rockets in order to produce jobs programs, not to get us to space.
Right. Is that what the problem is? It's a funding issue too, right? It's like you have to have immediate results for the amount of money that you put out.
It's worse than that. There's a little thing called the Alabama Mafia. It's a bunch of senators and congressmen from Texas and Colorado and Mississippi and all the states that have rocket jobs. And they have designed a rocket called the Space Launch System, and it's going to cost $30 billion to design it. And it's a throwaway rocket, so it's going to cost $1 to $2 billion for each flight.
You think this is intentional?
It's intentionally stupid.
And there you have it.
One of the most interesting things that he says, though, is that these programs like NASA and whatnot, and these corporations that are government run, they're more about job creation and keeping jobs than it is about innovation. Especially where he says that they build $1 billion rocket and then crash it and use it once, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I understand. I think it's a good idea to want to create jobs. Like, I think that is helpful for the economy, but could we not also create jobs like Tesla's doing, I'm sure, with their space program, but also be a lot smarter with the money, so that we can, rather than over however many years spending $30 billion on all these rockets that you're not even reusing, when you could be using that money to further like R&D, to make more efficient rockets, more efficient processes, finding better companies that'll give you cheaper deals that you can work with, to further kind of streamline how you're doing it. So I don't know. I just think that it was really interesting what he was talking about. Just for the fact that everybody kind of sees NASA as like this is the forefront of space technology, because back in 1969 they're the ones who got us to the moon. Well, since then, have they really done much for us? Not really, because I feel like it's a lot more obfuscated. That they're not able to do as much, just because it's gone more political than it has, advancement of technology.
So, and I think that's something that, like, going back to jobs, I think that's something that is extremely important, because yes, keeping things status quo will keep the same jobs, but sometimes you have to try to innovate in order to create new jobs. Like there's been a huge technological advancement in, let's say, the last 100 years, and even before that. Like if we're talking about the Industrial Revolution and all of this kind of stuff, then hold on 1 second. Okay, literally 1 second.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so we're at a point now where I feel like we have stagnated a little bit, and we're more concerned with making money and more concerned with job creation than we are with creating new ideas. Like, let's put it this way, the jobs in NASA right now would never have been there, like, if it wasn't for the Wright brothers with the first flight ever. It wouldn't be there without, obviously, the moon landing. And the moon landing really expanded the business of space exploration. So if we're not going to continue to try to have these innovations, and people like Elon Musk who are going to come in and try to promote this, and we are really stagnating ourselves.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I mean, it may not necessarily, like they were talking about, oh, go down, you jerk. Like they were talking about in the podcast. I don't know if we'll include it have included it in that clip or not, but I forget what I was gonna say. It just disappeared on me.
We'll see you next time.
Yep, see you. That's the end of the episode. Dang it. Yeah, what was I even talking about?
I don't remember.
Oh my god, did something just happen?
Did we die?
Are we dead?
We're probably dead. You're dead.
Okay. Well, that was weird.
Well, should we just move on?
I guess. Yeah, I guess. I had a point.
Okay.
Just believe me, guys.
Point,
I had a point.
taken.
Yes, thank you.
So if we're talking about innovations and things that are kind of stagnated and, kind of going towards money, let's look at one of the biggest industries in the world, and more so in the United States, which is the medical facilities and the medical industry. And we were kind of talking about this, and we found a couple of things about it. You'll see it pop up here right away, where we kind of rely on charities to fund something that should also be a basic human right.
Yeah.
And you'll see that a large percentage of medical advances, or hardly any medical advances recently, are all supported by these charities. Like we were talking about Bill Gates, and how he has his foundation, and he is dumbfounded by the fact that nobody is really overly funding our medical care, medical innovations, and we're putting all the money towards military, towards NASA. In Canada, like we have some research institutes, but again, you've got a person running 100 kilometers just to raise money for these charities. Like, we really should be putting more effort into this, should we not?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, R&D, I feel like, is a pretty overlooked, I don't know what you want to call it, section of, society. We fund, we're willing to put billions of dollars into, well, maybe not Canada, but the U.S., willing to put billions of dollars into their armies and into, whatever. Are you fridging me? Into their army and into, new weapons and new this, new that, and they're not putting any of this money into research and development. They're not putting it into research and development for, the medical sect, where I feel like that's one of the biggest things holding us back is just our lack of knowledge in the area. Like, we still don't have a cure for cancer. We still don't have a cure for HIV or any, there's a lot of these big diseases out there that are killing millions of people, and we're not putting as many of the funds as we possibly can towards dealing with these big problems that we currently have. That, if we took some money out of the military or out of some of these other ridiculous places that we're spending and put it towards research and development, not only for the medical, obviously, the whole medical sector is you're never going to waste money there. That's all going to a good place. That's going, it's helping all of us. But just in making better advancements, and we're talking technology, we're talking clean energy to, this is helping the earth. We're talking about like conservation practices. We're trying to save species of animals going extinct, or the deforestation that's ruining the planet. Like, we're not putting our money towards these really important things. We're just putting it towards meaningless stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we've got our priorities all mixed around, and that's why we need the Jeff Bezoses or the Elon Musk of the world to keep innovating, regardless of if there's money to be made or not. They're willing to put their money down to help further society, rather than just say, we're just here to make money.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we've been so stunted by people trying to have political and economic and personal gains, to be honest. If you think people make decisions not based on their own personal benefits, and that's pretty naive, because it does happen every day, everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
If we funded the things that we actually needed to in the world, could you imagine where we would actually be?
We'd be so much further. If our priorities were set straight where they should be, we would be so much further along in society, and we'd be so much better off. But when there's money to be made, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think that's about it.
Yeah, on that note, we'll leave her off there, and we'll see you guys next time.
If you did enjoy this, make sure to like and comment so that we know we're in the middle of transition right now, and it means a lot to us if you like what we're doing, so we'll see you next time.
See you guys later.